What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Story Time with DJ. I don't even know if this is going to be a story time with DJ, matter of fact, because what it really is going to be is just some observations of my week and what I've really just taken from the week and what I thought would be worth sharing. So it's going to be kind of podcast style, as if not all my story times with DJ is not like that. But anyways, so it's been a very, very eventful week. Went from New York to go to the seminar. That experience was incredible. Not just the seminar, but also just the things that I saw, the people that I got to see, and just the experience of it all. I went from that to going to Atlanta, filming an incredible scene, a scene from Euphoria, by the way. Very great show. Love that show. One of my goals is to actually be on that show, which is something that I'm going to talk about later on in this. Went from doing that to really just creating more and really just putting a lot more stuff out there and allowing myself the freedom to do that. So this particular episode, or I don't even know if this is going to be an episode. This actually might actually become an episode of me just kind of recapping my week and just sharing the things that I've learned and hopefully you guys finding some value in that. So first, let's touch on the New York thing. The seminar was incredible. The reason why I went to the seminar is because I believe in learning from the best of the best, from the people who have done the things that you're trying to do. And the guy, Robert McKee, has found a lot of success. He's found a lot of success. He's been in the game for a very long time. And I said, you know what? This is a guy that I need to go learn from. And one of my biggest outcomes, the reason why I said I want to do that and what I wanted to get out of the seminar was I wanted to create more. And I didn't know how that was going to come about. I truly did not know how that was going to come about. And it came about in such an interesting way. So what ended up happening was throughout the course of the seminar, it was a 3-day, it was either 3-day or 4-day seminar event. I think it was 4 days. And what ended up coming about was I got 3 main points that I took from the seminar, which all led into one. The first main point was whenever he said, you don't need to start at the beginning of your story to write. He was talking specifically about writing. And he said, you don't need to start at the beginning of it. He said, you can start at the end or you can start at the middle and then circle back to those parts that you left out. And, again, one of the things that I really got from that was, there's going to be 100 excuses not to create. You can say, oh, well, you can have an idea and not follow it through because it doesn't seem like it's the beginning of something, or you don't see how that's going to be connected, how you can build off of that. And that may be because it's at the end. You started at the end. And because it's not that systematic process that maybe you're used to, or the systematic process that you were told or that you believed for whatever reason, that you should start at the beginning, then you just ignore it. I actually have a funny story about that. So when I was in kindergarten, I remember I used to take tests. And for whatever reason, I truly don't know why I did this, but I would always start at the end of the test and work my way to the beginning. Because I figured for whatever reason in my mind, I thought that, if I know I'm at the end, then I'll finish quicker. And it won't be as daunting as going from 1 to 100 if I go from 100 to 1. And I remember very vividly that my teacher, her name was Miss Lee. Shout out to Miss Lee. I remember that it was at like the beginning of the test. And you know how the teacher walks around the desk when you're taking the test if they're not just sitting down. Well, she was walking around, and I think I got it to like answer like 91 or something like that. We just started the test. So I was 9 questions in. And I remember she came by picked up my pencil. I think she even like took the pencil out of my hand, if I'm remembering correctly. She took the pencil out my hand and erased 91 through 100 of the answers that I've already answered. And then she used like the pencil to tap at number one, like start here. And, you know, I haven't really thought of that story until I started thinking, like connecting, since I started telling this story. But I remember like thinking like, what's the big deal? Why do I have to start at one? If the outcome is to finish this, and if I finish this by starting at the end, then isn't that just as good as starting at the beginning? Like, what's the big deal? And it kind of relates to that. I actually have another story about that. There was actually a guy. So I made a post about this. Like every day during the seminar, I made a post just recapping what I'm learning. That way I could debrief. I could share with whoever it was it was going to touch, but also it helped me, you know, sink that lesson in. And I posted it on all my social media platforms, and I got a reply on Facebook. And I remember the guy, after I posted it, I remember the comment. He made a comment saying, and I actually interpreted it as sarcastic when I first read it. I believe what he said is, I'll post it in the post, so I may not get it exactly right. He said, "Wow, this is such a life lesson." This is again referring to not starting at the beginning of your story when you're writing. You can start at the middle and the end. He said, "This is such a life lesson because I started in the middle of my life, but now I'm about to start working on the beginning." And for whatever reason, I think it might have just been the space that I was in at the time, but I interpreted it as something sarcastic. Like I thought he was making fun of what I said. And it took me a minute because I was like, why is this guy being sarcastic? And I ended up taking a deep breath. I didn't respond right away. And I ended up saying, well, even if he is being sarcastic, let's say he is being sarcastic, he still took the time to write this. And I'm just going to interpret it as a genuine comment. Like, I'm going to take his words for what they are. He said it was a life lesson. He said that he's got a lot out of it. So I'm just going to thank him for that. I'm going to thank him for taking the time for leaving this comment. And mean it. And after I thanked him, a funny thing happened. A very funny thing happened. He ended up following my page. He liked what I had to say, his reply. And he followed my page after that. And something just clicked for me right then and there. Like, these stories we tell ourselves dictate how we interact in the world and how we interact with these conversations that we get. Because we truly don't know what these other people are thinking, especially when it's a text. When it's a text, like, we can just put all our own meanings in it, depending upon where we are at that particular time and place. We might have had a bad day. We might have had a great day, and we interpret that thing differently. Now, you know, I could have responded in a bunch of different ways. Like, I could have been like, I feel like you're being sarcastic. Get off of my page. And that would have led to a completely different response, I would imagine. Or I could have like actually asked, you know, are you being sarcastic? Like, what's up? But instead, like I said, I interpreted it as, okay, this guy really was touched by what I had to say. This guy felt some connection to it, of me just sharing what my experience was, and he found his own connection to it. Let me thank him for that. And it's something that I'm going to carry on with me, because I'm curious, like, how many interactions in life have we possibly messed up, or not even messed up, but tainted because someone said something to us, and because the words hit our ears in a certain way because of where we were at, we actually messed that relationship up, or we didn't get as deep into that relationship as we could have, or we didn't make that connection like we could have because of where we were at. in the stories that we were telling ourselves about what that person just said. And that's something that really, really stuck with me. And I think it's going to stick with me. I hope to, that's actually one of the reasons, again, I'm just saying these things to hopefully help someone else out. Like if someone else is going through this, hopefully it touches that. But it also just sinks the lesson in for me. That's one of the biggest things about this. Like, this is why I'm having so much fun creating, because I'm learning as I'm saying these things, and then now it's having an effect on other people. And I just love that. So that was lesson one. I could go into the whole thing, but I have some other things that I want to touch on, and I don't want the video to be super, super long. The other thing that I wanted to touch on was this thing of goals. The concept of goals, and this one is, again, this one's for the dreamers, right? I made a video also about this on all my social media platforms, I should say. And it can be very, like, I made a post about one of my goals. And again, like I mentioned earlier in this video, one of my main goals is that I'm focusing on right now is being casted on Euphoria season 3 as a series regular. Like, I'm hell bent on making that happen. That is my number one focus right now as far as my career goes. And I remember it was just a picture. Like I have it like written out and, circled, like this is what I'm going to do. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm focused on, just to kind of keep it in my mind. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to share this with the world, because again, I found something for me is that when I say it to people, when I say what it is that I'm planning on doing, like I did that for the seminar. I didn't know how I was going to get to the seminar, but I knew that I was going to get there. And just to make sure that I got there, because I'm also motivated a little bit by external motivation, which is not a bad thing, depending on how you use it. You can use it as a tool. I told my friends that this is what I was going to do. I didn't have the money for it at the time. I didn't know how I was going to get there. I didn't know where I was going to stay. Didn't know how I was going to earn the money for it. But I said, you know what, guys? I'm making this decision right now. This is where I'm going to be at. I'm going to do this. And it fueled me to do whatever it took. There was a lot of obstacles that came in the way of getting to that seminar. But none of them stopped me, because I was so internally motivated. And then I had that extra push of external motivation. So you can have both and make them both serve you. But going back to the Euphoria thing, I said, wow, this is a really big goal. And I was having resistance. Like I knew that I wanted to share it because I wanted that external motivation. But I also felt like a little bit of fear of like, man, if I tell somebody this and I don't make it happen, what does that mean? What are they going to say? Oh no. And I almost stopped myself from sharing the picture and my thoughts about it. And then I was like, no, I'm not gonna let this stop me. I'm not gonna stop myself from sharing what it is that I need to share, especially if I know that it pushes me towards the thing that I want. Because at the end of the day, it's just noise. Whether someone says that I'm going to do it or not, or whether they believe I can do it or not, that's not the reason why I'm sharing it with them. I'm sharing it with them because I believe in me. I believe in myself so much that I'll tell other people what it is that I'm going to do. That's how much I believe in myself. And I think that's the place that I'm constantly striving to get to. It's not about whether someone's going to approve of what I'm saying that I'm going to do, or whether they believe what I say I'm going to do. It's great if they do. I love it if they do, matter of fact. But I don't need it. I don't need it to get done what I need to get done. And this brings up another thing that I wanted to talk about. Is I remember there was a long period of time, but I wasn't even aware of this. But one of the reasons why I struggled to set goals for a long time, like I just hated the process of it, because when I was doing it, let me go back a little bit. When I was doing it, when I was trying to set goals, I would never set like really big goals because I had a reason not to. I was like, well, I'll do it. I don't need to write it down. I don't need to tell anybody about it. But the reason I didn't is because I was scared. And the reason I was scared is because I didn't really trust myself. Because in the past, I said that I was going to do things that I didn't do. So I lost that trust for myself in the things that I said that I was going to do. And I remember it was a very, very an emotional experience when I found out that was the case. I'm still touched by it. I remember I had a life coach at the time, and he was like, so what is this thing that you want to work on today? Like, what is this call? It was like a 30-minute call. He said, what is this thing that you want to work on today? And I remember like it was just so hard for me to get it out, but I just knew that I had to get it out. And the reason why I didn't want to get it out is because, you're feeling vulnerable. Like you're telling someone this very deeply personal thing that you truly don't even understand. Like you just have an essence of it and you let them know. And he said something to me that I remember I got really emotional. I was crying. He was like, it's okay that you don't trust yourself. You need to accept the fact that right now you don't trust yourself. Rather than denying it or trying to fight against it, accept the fact that you don't trust yourself right now. And then with that same acceptance, accept the fact that you're going to start showing up for yourself right now. In the past, it may have been different, but right now and here on out, you're going to trust yourself. And that doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect, like you're going to show up every time. There may be times, there may be patterns that are harder to break than others, and you may mess up. But know that you are focused on, and your intention is to get back to trust, to a point where you trust yourself and you trust that you're going to do the things that you say that you're going to do. And I remember even telling myself that. I believe I said it out loud. If not, I said it in my head. And I was like, yeah, I still don't trust myself. And he was like, that's okay. That's okay. Accept that. And then prove it with your actions. I had tears all down my face. But ever since that phone call, like, my level of trust and belief in myself and what it is that I say that I'm going to do, like, I literally have this motto from that conversation that I am someone that does what he says he's going to do. And I do everything I can to live up to that. And like I said, there's times and there's certain things that are easier than others. There's certain habits that I have that are harder to break, or that have been harder to break than others, but I'm chipping away at it. It took a very long time for those habits to form. So it's going to take a little while for them to be replaced. Some you can replace automatically. I'm definitely not, I'm not going to say any, like all of them are, or is a process. But, some of them are harder than others, and accepting that. And yeah, it was just an incredible experience. And that's one of the reasons why I'm making this video, because just in case there's someone else out there, like somewhere, if there's one person out there that they don't feel like they can trust themselves to do the things that they say that they're going to do because it's too big or it's too scary or they've never done it before. And they said that they were going to do something similarly that was just as scary or just as big or just as small. And they ended up not doing it. It doesn't mean that that's the end. That doesn't mean that's who you are. No. You can change. You can become exactly who it is that you want to be. And just because you didn't trust yourself then, doesn't mean you can develop that trust, and you can start right now to trust yourself. It's a very, very important principle. And if I hit one person with this to the level that it hit me, and then you start the process of trusting yourself, your whole world is going to change. I promise you. Man. I think there was one more thing that I wanted to talk about. And let me just check, because that might really be the kicker. But let me just check. Yeah, I think that's gonna be it. Um, it I really hope that you guys got something out of this. At least one person got something out of this. Um, it's just been an amazing week. I think it's so important. I'm finding that it's so important to celebrate your wins. So that's another reason why I'm doing these videos, is because it just recaps my wins of the week. Because there's something that there's something that it's just a quote that you may be winning and you not even know it because you're not keeping score. And I found that to be so true. Like, for example, I had written down, like, when you do a goals workshop, you write down everything that you want. Just no matter how crazy idea it is at the time, you just write it down. Don't think, oh, this is real, this is hard. Just write it down. And one of the goals that I had was I want to have a personal world-class acting coach. I just wrote that down. This was like months ago. This was months ago. And at the time, I thought, a world-class acting coach is someone that has Oscars, that has been there, done that, has had Oscars in the past, and now they have so much love for the craft that they came back to teach, to kind of coach these other actors. And like I said, I went to Atlanta this week, and I worked with a world-class acting coach. His name is Eric. And I say he's world-class because he has results. And he also takes it past an acting level. He takes it to the life level, which is more important. And also, when you have a connection with someone, that's more important as well than the technicalities of the acting. Because he has the technical side of it too. Don't get me wrong. But this guy is a world-class acting coach because he's had results. The people that he's coached has had tremendous amount of success on all levels, at all ages. And I remember I was just reflecting, I was writing down, after my experience. It might even been before I even went there, but I remember I saw, because those goals, I had like 3 main goals. That was like the first one there, and I was able to cross that off. But I wouldn't even it wouldn't even have clicked. It didn't click at the time that, this is what I'm doing. The thing that I said I'm gonna do, I just did. But because I was keeping score, I got this level of, whoa, I can do what it is that I say that I'm going to do, even if I don't know how it is that I'm going to get it done, or I don't even know how it's going to come about. But because I was keeping score, I was able to celebrate that. And that was an amazing feeling. So if out of all the things that I said this video, if one thing resonates for somebody, is to keep score. However way you do that, whether it's writing it down or you're telling your friends about it or whatever, keep score of your wins. That's like the number one thing that I've learned about successful people, is that they celebrate the small wins. If you're making a YouTube channel and you've only gotten 1 view for every single video, and your goal is to get more views, as soon as your first video hits 2 views, you just achieved that goal. Celebrate that. And then build off of that success. Because it can be so discouraging if you're trying to build this monster, this behemoth of a channel, and you're trying to get to 1 million views, but you don't celebrate when you go from 1 to 5. That's a huge jump from 1 to 1 million views, right? So celebrate the times in between. That way you can build momentum. Because now you're going from 1 to 5. Now go to 5 to 10. Or 5 to 25. And then enjoy that process along the way. So I'm gonna wrap this video up. This video is long enough. It's been a great week. Cannot wait to build off of this and share what happens next week. Don't even know what next week is gonna hold, but I know I got some goals that I'm gonna go after. Excited to share it with you guys. See you later.